Tom Cruise is way too awesome for the rest of Hollywood because Hollywood is full of losers, and thus they had to take out their vitriol on him at the Golden Globe Awards by having a weird type of roast sesh that just reeked of insecurity.
Well, this is even worse than the Golden Globes. This is the Directors Guild of America Awards, so it's even more niche and elitist.
But the Golden Globe one was from the Golden Globes, right? But the funny part about that is I actually agree with them. Tom Cruise giving back his awards on the basis of diversity is like the cringiest thing is like the cringiest thing he's ever done. I also was like,
I don't know, man. What is he supposed to do?
He's
not supposed to take awards from people who apparently deserve them more from him.
Well, he already won them. Like
it was like past years.
Be cooler if he gave back like an IOU. Like he gave back like awards he'd already won.
You will just never top Kanye peeing on his Grammys. Like that's peak award show mentality. Like, don't let the prestige of a stupid award show control your ego.
Can you imagine if like someone won an award and he stands up and he's like, but I realized that I'm a part of the problem with my race and whatever else, so I'm gonna give it to the next guy. And the next guy's like, well, I don't need a handout from you.
They want handouts now. Hollywood loves handouts now.
We're gonna get to that next.
Or they pick another person. It's like another man. He's like, no, it should go to a woman. And then like on stage, we're watching them debate over who should win this award.
The whole monologue introducing the Golden Globes by Jared Carmichael, first I had heard of him, by the way, was like just racial grievance peddling. And it was so unfunny and uncomfortable and awkward that I think the people in the audience were only laughing because they were drunk. Other than that, I would be stone cold. Or they had like cue cards being like clap now, laugh now.
It is funny. I think it is so funny.
It's so funny. I'm such a bad white person. And he made fun of Tom Cruise because you're obligated to do so. He joked about Tom Cruise exchanging his Golden Globes that he gave back,
which I'm okay
for
with.
the return of the wife of the president or leader of Scientology,
which is funny because in the article they say
Isn't she missing.
So from what I did,
but then Scientology denied it for years.
Apparently, like Leah Remini filed a missing persons report, and the police found her, and she just said like, I'm not missing, but I'm a private person. But I love the idea that it doesn't matter because there's probably Scientologists in the police force that could just make this up anyways. I watched Leah Remini, who
was like, I filed a police report. They went to like a residence that apparently Shelley lives at. But then they were like, are you Shelley Misgraves or whatever her name is? And she's like, yup, I'm good. I'm just private. But they didn't like check her any information to confirm that it was her. Like anyone could have been like, yes, it's me. It's me, Shelley. I'm good to go.
Here's what the LAPD said.
Been seen publicly by even.
It was in 2014 that they did this check.
No, didn't they say they went to her house?
They went to her location.
I could be in her house and say I'm her. Like,
right, exactly.
Police officers don't know who she is.
They went to her location, personally made contact with her and her attorney, who's her attorney,
who's just hanging
out. And is he a Scientologist?
He's just staying over. He happens to be over for lunch when this happens.
Detectives found her to be alive and safe, and closed the investigation. Good job, police.
There's pictures of her, so it's not like they wouldn't be able to check.
None of the recent ones, right? And like, what if she's lost a bunch of weight? What if she's gained a bunch of weight? Women dye their hair all the time. Like, maybe it's her.
What if they transferred the consciousness of another person into another person's body?
They never said they like saw identification or spoke to her privately.
It doesn't make any sense. Also, like, if
she literally had a handler.
She's the wife of this very important person for this religion, and she doesn't appear publicly at any religious, like any of the openings of their centers or anything else. Like, doesn't that seem weird? The only other person I know who operates this way is Kim Jong-un and his wife, who we never see except for very rarely.
The thing is, I don't know why Tom Cruise is expected to answer for everything.
He's not. He should. These people are just mad that he's too powerful. He has too much money. He has too much clout, and he has too many connections, and he too easily disproves all of their narratives that they run with constantly. And even if he's doing it purely for financial purposes, I don't really care.
I totally agree with you, but I will say Scientologists, from my very extensive research, aka watching Leah Remini's thing, like, they do encourage the people involved to be advocates for it, to sort of evangelize it wherever they go. So he doesn't have to answer for it. On the other hand, I would believe that he is actively advocating for Scientology openly, and if you're going to wear it as a key part of your identity, it's not unreasonable that people would ask.
He kind of stopped talking about it.
But this is
for a
not
long
why.
time.
This is not why Judd Apatow and these people.
No,
are
yeah,
criticizing.
exactly.
They don't give a crap about
has nothing to do
They
with
give a crap about the fact that
controversies of his
he
religion.
proves everything that they believe is accurate to be wrong.
Yeah.
They care that that even if he only on the surface cares about what the audience thinks or doesn't want to tell you what you need but give you what he thinks you want, right? Like he wants to give you Tom Cruise wants to give you what you want to watch. They want to give you what they want you to watch.
Yeah.
And he easily disproves their narrative, therefore he has to be held to account by them, which is embarrassing
and
and
it seems
pathetic.
like jealousy, you know.
It is. It's absolutely jealousy.
Definitely. Is it Judd Apatow or Apatow?
I say Apatow.
I've always heard Apatow.
Apatow.
Yeah.
Okay, he like made fun of at the Directors Guild. He made fun of Tom Cruise being short, which is an easy low blow, but you know it's whatever.
But could be taken like if they didn't go further than that, it could be taken as
like,
good natured.
Yeah, like razzing.
But it's when you keep going.
Well, then he brought up Tom Cruise jumping on Oprah's couch,
which Tom Cruise has said got blown way out of proportion. Like they edited it to make it way worse than it was. Which like, does anybody here for a second think that they wouldn't do that in Hollywood?
I'm sure they edited it deceptively, but at the same time, that's a lot of material to.
I mean, he jumped on the couch, but the Oprah show is notorious for editing things in ways that misrepresent things.
They love to lie by structure.
He did seem unhinged.
Sure. I mean, I think he probably is unhinged on some level.
Probably
right?
maybe on drugs.
Well, my thing
he's
is
very actively anti-pharmaceutical. So I mean, if he is,
that's part of being a Scientologist.
Sure, but maybe they're not pharmaceuticals.
Yeah. My thing is, where is Surrey? Surrey is in New York. Tom Cruise apparently has very little contact, if any, with her.
$33,000 a month in child support.
The things that I would want to criticize him for, we somehow let go by. And I guess we're not, you have to talk about a kid and you have to talk about stuff, you infringe on her privacy to talk about it. But like, I don't care that he's short and I don't care that he jumped on Oprah's couch. Like, I'm interested in the fact that this guy,
what is he doing today?
Isn't representing a strong picture of fatherhood, right? And like even the children he had adopted with the redhead, Nicole Kidman.
He's got two kids with her, Nicole Kidman.
They're both adopted, and
Connor.
They
and,
completely sided with him in everything, and they're very close to him. They're not as close to her. She's remarried. She has other children now too. But it's just interesting that like there is very unusual family dynamics at play. But the best shot that they had was like your religion, which I still think is sketchy, and the fact that you're short.
I thought you were supposed to allow people to I guess because they would probably classify it as a cult and not a religion.
Well, the interesting thing about his divorce with Katie Holmes is that it's supposedly that she didn't want to raise their daughter in Scientology, and Tom Cruise didn't feel like she needed to be protected from Scientology, and that's just something you really can't compromise on.
And apparently it was Scientologists who set them up. Like they were set up by people involved in the Scientologist church. I just think it's like I think Scientology is not transparent enough. If it had nothing going on, it should be more open, and all religions that, if you write a book called How You Make Money Off Your Religion, I'm going to be skeptical, and that's the basis of Scientology.
True. Another interesting thing about their divorce is that she wasn't allowed to publicly date for 5 years afterwards.
She had a non-compete clause?
I thought it was 10.
Yeah, exactly. I think I looked into it today. It seems like it was 5.
People freaked out.
And then she was with Jamie Foxx on the beach.
Like exactly to the day when this like supposed clause went away. Which it's hard to be like, is that a coincidence in the making for 10 years, or 5 years or whatever? No, I just feel like he is clouded in all kinds of weird things, but I still think that like the content he produced is good, right? Top Gun Maverick was a success and there's no denying it, even if I want to question him about why he's abandoning service.
They hate him for the same reason they hate Mel Gibson, because they can't control him. Because he's
but he is
burrowed
a
himself.
controlled quantity, I think. I think he is controlled by Scientology.
They even have more dirt on Mel Gibson than they have on Tom Cruise.
He's working with Christopher McQuarrie, so he's not like wide-ranging his director team. Like he's working with the same people. So he's got competent people that he trusts that he can work with, and that's a very dangerous thing in an industry that gets its way by shunning you and keeping you from working with adequate talent or getting you resources to get things funded.
People? Scientologists.
And women.
So true.
And women.
I'm just saying. I feel like maybe Tom Cruise is insulated because he has picked, or he is a part of this larger organization that has serious ties to Hollywood. I'm not going to become a conspiracy theorist. I just think we should all question Scientology.
Here was the most personal and biting remark, I think, from Judd Apatow's monologue. He said, "The only thing Tom Cruise seems to be afraid of is co-parenting and antidepressants. I doubled my Prozac today just for this. Doubled it. Do you think if Tom Cruise took antidepressants, he'd be like, I'm not jumping out of an effing cliff. Why do I even work? I'm rich."
I don't think you understand how Prozac works.
If you took an antidepressant, then you wouldn't want to do what you love anymore. Seems like the antidepressant is depressing you.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's the lame people today. Those are the same people that probably brag about going to therapy.
And then I saw that clip of Tom Cruise talking about antidepressants begin circulating again, where who is he talking to on that?
We have that up here.
I think I want to play it here actually, just because I had forgotten about this clip and what he said in it. But it's actually pretty base.
The whole thing,
like,
or is there a certain part?
Well, yeah, like we can play part of it.
Be an
I guess.
example of someone who benefited from one of those drugs.
All it does is mask the problem, Matt. And if you understand the history of it, it masks the problem. That's what it does. That's all it does. You're not getting to the reason why. There is no such thing as a chemical imbalance.
It'd be funny if his chair was a little bit taller than that guy's.
Depression
It
to
is.
you
They're
is
not
kind of
hitting
a
lighting.
little psychological gobbledygook?
No, I did not say that.
I'm just asking, what would you call it?
Matt, that is the post. Now you're talking about two different things.
But that's what she went on
You're
the
glib.
antidepressant
You're
for.
glib.
But what happens, the antidepressant, all it does is mask the problem. There's ways of vitamins and through exercise and various things. I'm not saying that isn't real. That's not what I'm saying. That's an alteration of what I'm saying. I'm saying that drugs aren't the answer, that these drugs are very dangerous. They're mind-altering, antipsychotic drugs. And there are ways of doing it without that, so that we don't end up in a brave new world. The thing that I'm saying about Brooke is that
was a fantastic
there's misinformation.
reference.
Okay, and she doesn't understand the history of psychiatry. She doesn't understand in the same way that you don't understand it, man.
But a little bit what you're saying, Tom, is you say you want people to do well, but you want them to do well by taking the road that you approve of, as opposed to a road that may work for them.
No, I'm not.
Well, if antidepressants work for Brooke Shields, why isn't that okay?
I disagree with it. And I think that there's a higher and better quality of life. And I think that promoting, for me personally, see, you're saying, I can't discuss what I want to discuss?
No, you absolutely can.
But Matt, you're going in and saying that I can't discuss that.
I'm only asking, isn't there
You know
a
what I think
possibility
Tom Cruise
that
should
do you
do?
examine the
Start a show
possibility that
called
these things
Tomcast
do work for some
IRL.
people? That yes, there
Where
are
he can
abuses.
talk about
and yes,
all of
maybe
his
they've gone too
controversial
far in certain areas.
ideas.
Maybe there are too many kids on Ritalin. Maybe
There is an overprescription problem in America. Like, I think the things that he was talking about at this time are coming into fruition now.
Yeah, more now than that back then.
I think a lot of people don't understand the consequences of a lot of stuff that we prescribe. Birth control is an example of this. Antidepressants, anti-anxiety medications. It's not that they can't help people ever, but lifelong dependency on them is something we should be wary of. And I think he's right to say, like, if you take an antidepressant and feel better, have you really addressed the issues?
I think we're
at
crunchier
play?
now, like on the surface level, than we were back when he said that.
Right.
So he would get less pushback for saying it today.
I think that this clip, again, I
No, I
know
don't
every
think
time
that.
we talk about.
I think they worship at the altar of the medical industrial complex now. I think they would immediately push back on it. I think depending on where he went to have that discussion, maybe.
Yeah, I think one
he
of
had
the
it with
issues.
Joe Rogan versus.
Yeah.
I think one of the issues is that Scientology, and I hate to harp on it so much, but Scientology, if they're right on this stance, they're wrong on a lot of other things. Like, if you're schizophrenic, Scientologists don't think you should take medication. I don't think that that's necessarily safe or healthy. If you're a Scientologist, from what I have understood about it and what I have read about it from different journalists, like, you're not supposed to make noise while you give birth. That seems very challenging. Like, I don't think Scientology is 110% correct on all of their medical advice, but I agree with this one specific statement that he was making sort of like a profit, right? I have known a lot of people to come off of different prescription medications and to see serious positive change in their life. It's not that you can't be helped by these things, but just saying, take these pills forever and you'll be okay, is really laziness on the part of our medical industry, because they benefit, because they profit off of it.
It's also like, if you choose something and it works for you, then it's good.
Right.
Which means you think that every individual is the best absolute judge of what is best for them. What works for them.
Well, and if you take if you're seriously depressed and you take antidepressants and you start to feel better and you're able to work with a therapist or a priest or a counselor and really work at whatever is causing you suffering,
Yeah.
that's good. And hopefully you can come off the medication a stronger person. Like, I don't think medical intervention is necessarily bad, but I think saying that like the only way out is through pharmaceutical intervention is close-minded.
As someone who was at one point very addicted to drugs, and then the answer by most of the medical community was to give me other drugs to then combat the symptoms. For context, when you come off of opiates, you can go through debilitating withdrawal that nearly kills you, which I did. The problem was, at that time, I was living in a situation that put me in close proximity to opiates all the time. So that was not a situation I could get out of because of my home life. And so what they did is they wanted to put me on long-term Suboxone use. And long-term Suboxone use will prevent you from going through further withdrawal for as long as you take it. The problem is you become a prisoner to that medication, meaning that you can't travel unless it's a lot of the same problems you have if you're just addicted to drugs, but just through prescription means. And the difference is it's harder but not impossible to abuse. Therefore, it holds you for a long period of time. And in a lot of ways, I was a prisoner to that. Now, that does not mean that I'm telling anyone that they shouldn't be allowed to do whatever. I am, even going through what I've gone through, have no right to tell anyone else what is right for them medically. I don't know their situation. Nor do I really care if people want to. Like, that's not my business.
What people really took issue with in Tom Cruise's statements here is that he seemed to think he knew what would work for Brooke Shields.
Yeah, and
that's what really offended them. But
Yeah.
honestly, people talk about what's best for other people
All the time.
all the freaking time, and they selectively get offended about it, depending on their worldview. And I'm remembering now, there was this like Columbia University professor that put out a book and like a whole press tour about how he is a functional, like a high functioning intravenous heroin user.
Yeah, there's a ton of those.
And he like made a book literally like saying that more people should try it. And
He
you
was
know,
on
more
Rogan,
people should
right?
try.
That guy went on Rogan.
That guy went on Rogan.
Or did he go on like?
You
like,
can
go on,
look
like,
these
the
up on YouTube. There's
Weinsteins,
I can't remember the name of the channel, but there's a YouTube channel that will talk about this, and they've done several
Yeah.
interviews with like, I'm a high functioning heroin addict. The life doesn't seem great to me.
But it's like,
but
you're
they
a
are
high
paying the
functioning
bills.
heroin addict because you're a tenured professor with tons of money and social capital and a cushion to always fall back on. And you're not recognizing that the rest of the opioid crisis is affecting people who are in a much worse socioeconomic position than you and are like dying deaths of despair and are using opioids to alleviate feelings of despair,
Right, and
that you are not subject
I
to
could-
because you have a purpose in life.
Right. And I could be wrong, but with that specific professor, I think he was single, right? He didn't have a family or anything.
Sounded like it,
I don't remember for
Well, he
sure.
would go to like Burning Man and stuff, and like
yeah, super cool. You're
because
artsy,
he's
you're
a
a professor.
neuroscientist, he would like be a consultant for people on bad drug trips.
I mean,
It's bizarre.
Cool life that you have built for yourself, and if you're safe, that's great. But saying that more people should try it negates the fact that other people have more responsibilities than you do, right?
and also
Like,
claiming that opioids don't have a like pharmacological addictive property.
Wait, did he actually say that?
Yes. He
He's-
said it's literally like no different than anything else.
I mean, a lot of things are addictive, but
But that's a wild
so
claim.
are prescription opioids. Like that is part of the problem. That's how we got here.
He says like, oh, you're whether you get addicted is completely circumstantial.
that's
but that's not
abhorrent.
Like
True at
that's just
all.
simply not the case.
I feel like that's someone
that's
trying to say
disgusting.
like my
Yeah.
lifestyle.
As
is
somebody who's been through that, that's
It's a very
that's disgusting.
misleading
And
message.
Look,
but that just came to mind. I
when
don't know why.
when I tell people that I'm not here to stop anyone from doing that, that's because I'm affording them the agency of them being adults. They have the right to make their own decisions.
Yeah.
Like it is very hard to explain to people the hell that going through the pain of withdrawal is. And like, if somebody wants to stay on a medication for the rest of their life, to avoid that hell, that for however
Yeah.
long it takes, some people it's longer than others. I understand that. I don't know if I would want that. Eventually, I had to make the decision to go through the worst of it, and it actually was worse coming off the Suboxone than coming off the opiates because it lingers in your system for longer.
Yeah.
So if you want to, there's nothing romantic about being awake for almost a month straight, for throwing up every 20 minutes for 2.5 weeks, and for every minute of the day feeling like an hour with the inability to move while constantly feeling as if you're hyperactive and need to move around.
Yeah, that guy totally downplayed the anguish of that experience.
But also, has he
on
ever come
purpose.
off heroin? That's the thing. Like
He said like, oh, there was this time I couldn't score any heroin, which I'm sure he, with his socioeconomic position, is able to get very, high class pure drugs. But he called it an unpleasant experience, and it's like, well, can you live without it?
Yeah,
I mean,
I think what like the criticism of Tom Cruise being like, should he have publicly commented on what Brooke Shields is doing? Maybe not, right? Maybe if they were good friends, he could have said, hey, Brooke, like, love you. Maybe you should consider something else. But the other thing is, she talked about it publicly. So then
it becomes a public sentiment.
Right.
Could talk about it publicly.
and they probably were asking him about it, which is why he spoke on it.
And so should he lie and be like, she can do...
Yeah.
He isn't saying she can't do it. He's just saying he would not recommend it. He would not advocate for it. And I don't think that's crazy.
And the point at the end of the day is they're bringing up these things he's said in the past or done in the past because they resent that he did something successful and they're not capable of it. Like, they really can't measure up.
It's really more of like where that the arena in which that discussion happened than about the discussion itself, right? Like, if he had that discussion with her, that's a completely different thing. But when everybody makes it public record, they've made it public record. That's what it is now. So everyone has a right to at least, give their 2 cents. Everyone has a right to give their 2 cents on what we're talking about here. We can't condemn them for having their own opinion about it.
No, it seems crazy. I just think that like Tom Cruise was in early 2000s, maybe 90s, like an easy target for things that he was saying and doing, but his career has not suffered because of the bizarre choices that he's made, even stuff that I don't agree with, right? And I think that is not something they like.
Well, if anything, his risky behavior has gotten him ahead in Hollywood, and that's what they resent him for being exceptional. For being maybe, sure, kind of a bizarre person with a weird personal life, but he made a movie that, no question about it, made a huge impact on the state of Hollywood right now, a positive one, and they aren't capable of doing the same.
I don't disagree, but I also think it's like, for this monologue, for this thing, for this award show that I don't care about, that probably doesn't get that many reviews, it's an easy, they're like, we can't make too edgy of a joke, so we'll joke about Tom Cruise, because there's no one cares when you joke about Tom Cruise. No one comes to his defense.
Yeah, true.
Well, I mean,
it's them playing it safe.
Insert any straight white male that doesn't bow to the altar of diversity, equity, and inclusion all the time.
They could have done Alec Baldwin, but
then you're commenting on gun rights stuff. It's too spicy.
They're cowardly.
That would have been amazing.
That would have been way funnier
if they would have been like, if they were like, did anybody check the prop guns?
Yeah,
or his wife, because who says she is from Spain and she's actually definitely completely from Boston and faking all of it.
Thanks for watching. Listen to full episodes of Pop Culture Crisis on Spotify.
Keep up with us on social media and make sure you subscribe and ring that bell so you never miss the show. Bye, guys.